Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Tyler with Your Movie Fix, and this is going to be the official announcement that Justice League Ultimate Fan Edition is now available. You can go ahead and check the link in the description for a link to Mega, and go ahead and start that download, and I really want to talk about a couple of the things that I've done with this movie and some of my goals when making it. So let's go ahead and get started with this. First thing off the bat, this cut is the result of a collaborative effort from the internet, and not every idea in this thing is mine. But notably, I did pull from Ugly Edits and AB Director, and they were credited for some of their sequences and ideas because I didn't just take their videos straight off and just splice them in. I either recreated them entirely through my own means with mixing the music or mixing sounds, or some of their ideas felt needed some fine-tuning to better fit in with an entire movie, because some of the things that they did fit really well with specific clips, but they maybe needed some fine-tuning to fit in with the movie itself. So just putting that out there, that this was a great collaborative effort. I wanted to pull the best of the best fan ideas from across the internet and compile it into one movie, and I think the end product here is something pretty special. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the things that I wanted to do, and a big one was I wanted to better match the tone of the trailers, because I felt like there was a huge disparity between the end product and what they kind of promised us with the first 3 or 4 trailers. Honestly, everything up until that Heroes trailer, which that one was still great, but there was a certain rock and roll kind of vibe going on there with Junkie XL, the Icky Thump. Just a more epic vibe, especially with those Comic-Con trailers, and that's something I wanted to put back into here. Specifically visually and musically, I wanted to put this movie back into the franchise, because those are two of the things that make the DC movies very, very unique. They're visually very striking, and even if you don't like the characters, if you don't like the story, most people tend to say that the soundtracks are really awesome. So I have put in more Hans Zimmer, more Junkie XL. I'll get more onto that in a moment. A big thing is that I wanted this to have a higher replay value for the fans, myself included, because I am a giant fan of this franchise. Something like Suicide Squad, I can put that in and I can watch it and I can still enjoy it, but Justice League, I feel like there was maybe a little too much disappointment, too many things to wade through in between the cool parts of the movie, because not everything about this movie is terrible. I don't think this movie is terrible. I just sought to make it a more enjoyable version that fit better into this franchise. And I could rewatch this version of the movie a million times and have a lot of fun when watching it as a trilogy with Man of Steel and Dawn of Justice. And just know that there aren't too many things that I could do to change the story itself. It's still very straightforward about Steppenwolf invading Earth, but there are plenty of things along the way that I think you'll like. And personally, I wanted this to be a completion of Zack's trilogy, because I thought, you know what, even if this movie doesn't make any money, even if it gets shit on in the reviews, I think fans of his work are kind of used to that. He does polarizing, divisive work, and it's whatever. And I was prepared for that, but I thought, you know what, all of that can happen, and I'm still going to get Zack's Justice League, and we didn't get that. So I just wanted to create something that's similar in feel, because this is not the Zack Snyder cut. I'm not claiming it to be. That's not possible. We don't have enough footage. Too much was cut, too much was put in. So just know that that's not the goal here. Now I want to talk about some of the technical things that I've done to this movie. I have changed the aspect ratio to 2:0 instead of the 1.85. And I opted out for the 2:0 instead of 2:40, which is usually that big aspect ratio that you'll see like on Man of Steel, Dawn of Justice, a lot of traditional movies. That's a little too narrow of an aspect ratio. It neuters the scope of any of the scenes, dialogue, and action big time. But 2.0 was actually something that Netflix uses for a lot of their original shows. House of Cards, Stranger Things, it's in some of their movies. And also Jurassic World was one of the bigger movies to use this aspect ratio, because you can still get a great cinematic feel with the dialogue scenes, and it doesn't take away the scope of the action. And a big reason for this was to help blend in the reshoots, because they needed a more cinematic look, and this goes along with all of the color grading that I've done to the movie. But this was also, I took every scene, every shot, and I fit it better into this aspect ratio. I didn't just change the aspect ratio and leave everything as it is. A lot of it needed tweaking, so I tweaked every shot and every scene to better fit into this. Now moving on, I did color grade to better match the continuity of these movies like Man of Steel and Dawn of Justice. So is it exact? No, I don't know if anyone can guarantee that they have an exact color grade, because we're not the colorists on those movies, but I've done a better job at removing that cartoony look, some of the oversaturated skin tones, and just made this feel more like the trailers that we got in 2016. This is in stereo audio and not 5.1. If you have any questions about the real why that I did that, feel free to ask them, but mostly because most people watching this are going to be watching it in stereo. You're going to watch it on your phone with some headphones. You're going to watch it on the computer. You're going to watch it on your TVs. It's still going to sound great on your TV, on your phone, computer, whatever. I've watched this myself. If you really feel the need, I have a sound system as well. Most sound systems have up mixers so you can simulate surround sound, but we don't have all of the sound files and sound effects to even truly pull off 5.1. So anyone saying that they've given you a 5.1 edit of this movie, they're lying and it's incomplete. It's just not possible. So this is in 1080p, 24 frames per second, and the actual bitrate quality is just a little bit higher than a Netflix show, and this was really to fit the compression so that I was actually able to share it with you. But the source file was a direct rip from a Blu-ray. So now let's talk about some of the creative endeavors for this version of the film. There is an alternate intro for this movie, and I removed a lot of the worst Superman faces, which was really just the intro and a couple pieces here and there, like on the farm. But I felt like removing some of those reshoots was a little necessary to enjoy this movie and have a better experience. So I did put the deleted scenes back in of Superman getting his suit and going to talk with Alfred, because along with those and some of the things like the farm scenes from AB director, that those were used and tweaked by me, I feel like those put together make Clark a much better character and kind of completes that Man of Steel arc at least better. So moving on, there is a little bit more payoff to the nightmare sequence from Dawn of Justice. Some of you have seen my edit of Cyborgs Seeing the Future. There is a similar sequence to that in this version of the movie. I did place as absolutely many trailer moments back into the film as possible where I could. A lot of the fan favorite moments have been put back in. One of the ones that I really couldn't was Aquaman spearing the parademons. It was too short of a cut, and it was color graded to that nighttime shot. There was no real place to put it, and it would have just felt out of place because it's only about a second and a half of a clip. So, whatever. But most other pieces were actually able to fit in seamlessly by the frame. Like, this was definitely cut simply just for the time and for no other reason. Along with inserting these trailer moments, I removed some of the jokes. Most of those were the ones that were at Bruce or Batman's expense, honestly, because some of those were the worst reshoots that really detracted from the tone that I was going for. And honestly, some of the trailer moments were able to completely and perfectly replace some of the reshot moments in the film. And I did remove some of the jokes. Like I said, most of the ones that were Batman's expense. But my goal here wasn't to remove all traces of Joss Whedon. That didn't happen. There are still some lighter moments that are still in the film, but I took out the cringy moments like the Batman or the Flash falling on top of Wonder Woman, that sort of stuff. Also, the music has been almost entirely rescored with Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL. There is about 40 seconds of Danny Elfman left in there I repurposed a piece from his Heroes track and put that somewhere in there. I also used some Rupert Gregson Williams from his Wonder Woman score, and there's about 2 tiny tracks of Daft Punk that you probably won't even be able to notice. I'd say about 98% of this is Junkie XL and Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer was predominantly used for the Superman scenes, and some of the Batman v Superman music was used for Gotham and Batman, just conversations with Alfred. That whole feel, it fit really well. But for the actual League itself, I did use different music from Junkie XL because I feel like we needed something that felt fresh for the Justice League and didn't remind me too much of music associated too heavily with Batman or just Superman. But I did keep in the spirit of Junkie XL supposed to be the composer for this film, and I used a lot of Junkie XL's tracks from Mad Max. So the third act has some small things rearranged to better fit my changes. Just here and there, it flows a little better. I think this third act is far more exciting. And the Russian family screen time has been greatly reduced to about a quarter of what it was. There are more callbacks to Man of Steel and Dawn of Justice. And also something else that makes this cut a little more unique is keep watching through the end of the movie, all the way until you hit the actual credits, because I have included the end credit scenes, a tribute to Zack Snyder and his work on this franchise, as well as all of the leaked footage that came out. All of the leaked unfinished footage is there before the absolute end of the movie. So everything plays after the movie, before the credits. The credits are just their own thing in this. There were times when I had to remove all of the sound, and these were things that actually turned out really well. Where sometimes you have the dialogue and effects track, and little bits of music bleed through. And times where that happened, I either greatly reduced it or eliminated it by taking out the audio and completely remixing sounds, pulling from sound libraries. And I even made my own little cameo and had to make a couple of sound effects myself that you won't even know are there. And like I said, I can't make this some perfect movie. The changes here don't suddenly make it a 10 out of 10 perfect movie. I just wanted something more enjoyable for the fans. This is definitely going to be the version of the film that I watch when I'm doing my marathons, or if I'm popping Justice League in. I'm probably not going to bother with the Blu-ray, just because this so much better fits the tone and the franchise itself. And if we got to move on from this point, after Justice League, I'm fine with that. I just wanted something that was a little more payoff to, what we got with Man of Steel and Dawn of Justice. So I really hope that you guys enjoy it. Check that link down below if you haven't. Get started on the download. It's about 5 gigabytes. The best thing to do is just put it on a flash drive, put it in your Xbox, your PlayStation, your Blu-ray player. That's what I did. It plays great. Like I said, it's just a little bit higher than 1080p Netflix quality. So it is pretty good. And I will be putting out a much higher bitrate version at a later point in time, but I don't know what I'm really going to be doing with that. So check it out, download it, and leave